We're in the green room.
We're in the green room and we're marching towards Saturday night. And here you are with us in the Gunners Club. Seuss,
Yeah.
do you know what I love about our channel, Seussology?
Go on, surprise. The fact that you can come here and drink free beer.
I like that. I like the pre-beer, the during beer, and the post-beer. And I love what goes on in the green room as well, particularly the lady who does my makeup and the catering as well.
I think you need to give her a pay rise.
Well, we couldn't be more in the green room than what we really are right now.
This is true.
You know what I love what's going on with Seussology, the channel that you created? We're starting to cover so much in the way of current topics. So we've talked a bit about recently the craft brewery industry.
Yes.
And the crisis that's happening there. We were basically the first people to jump on board when there was a contention with the marketing of hard solo.
We are trendsetters.
We
That's
are
what we
trendsetters.
are.
We are. Oh, sometimes I think we just put out fires, but
Yeah.
there we are. We've got our fingers on the pulse. And we've just come from interviewing Steve Douglas, who owns a chain of stores in the vaping industry.
And it's a shame that he's going to have to close them. It really is. I'm a vapor myself. I will continue to be a vapor. And unfortunately, if they're no longer available in the regular market, I'll have to continue doing it through the black market.
Well, fighting words. We had a great suggestion from loyal viewer. Now, I'm going to pronounce it the way that it sounds to me in French, Gigante, the Gigante family. Thank you for watching, by the way. We appreciate that. Wanted to know a little bit about you, Seuss, and particularly a little bit about your army history. We wasn't sure actually even what force you were part of. Now, to me, it's quite obvious because I only have to look back to see that great big gun and think, well, it's definitely got to be arty, doesn't it?
Artillery, definitely. Royal Australian Artillery.
Now, would you identify as a white lanyard man?
I was never a good soldier.
But I mean, the artillery, the lanyard that they wore was white.
Yes, it was. Historically, apparently, many years ago, they did a runner in the face of the enemy. Hence, they were awarded the white lanyard.
Well, who's to say? But you'd also identify as being a drop short.
I prefer to call myself a 9-mile sniper, thank you.
No. And of course, there was never anyone who just served in the artillery. They were always gentlemen.
Gentlemen of the artillery, that's what we are known as, yes.
So, you see, the Weekender really has been themed with an artillery motif. I mean, can you not even guess? It's called here the Gunners Club, and in fact, you've even got tailor-made coasters. And one day when you come to join us in the audience from wherever you are in the world,
And I hope you do.
you'll see just how much we've got in the way of military paraphernalia here.
And a great deal of it is actually stuff that was, how should we say, lifted for posterity.
A great deal of it, unfortunately, had to be bought.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. And you're still collecting. Now, I've asked you, Suze, to bring along just a few things from the corners of this room that mean something to you, or that you can tell us a little bit why it means something to you and the time that you spent in the army. What do you want to start us off with?
Well, I've got to lay the groundwork,
Sure.
as I mentioned before. I joined the army the moment I turned 18, the legal age, and to me it was going to be an adventure, and I joined with a sole purpose of maybe, eventually, if it goes long enough, I'll go to Vietnam. Through the course of my basic training, Whitlam, who was our Prime Minister at the time,
Yeah.
made the announcement on TV that we're pulling out. You bastard, I said. So now I'm stuck.
Well, look, most Australians, most young Australians at the time would have felt very differently.
Yes.
And very, very relieved when Whitlam did that. In the time of Vietnam, they were drawing the names of Australians to serve through like a Tats Lotto, like a lotto.
The
They were
Nashos.
wheeling the ball, and if your number came out, you literally were called up to serve.
Yes. So anyway, that was me. I joined. I wasn't going to Vietnam. Needless to say, I was a little pissed. But there you go. That was me. So I tried my hand in a whole bunch of stuff. Initially, I stuck my hand up to go into catering corps. A, you wouldn't go hungry. B, that was what I was a pastry chef in the
That's right.
previous
trade,
life.
Trade qualified.
Yeah. So I thought, oh, this will be a doddle. I'll get in there. Anyway, that Didn't suit me. I didn't like the hours. Always the first up, always the last to go to bed.
Yeah.
So didn't like that idea much.
You do peel a mean potato though, don't you?
Oh, mate. I do. Especially with one of these.
Now, here we go. You've all seen Crocodile Dundee, haven't you? That's not a knife.
This is a knife. Well, it's actually not. It's a bayonet for an SLR.
It is. But can you just show it to the camera? Because I want to show one thing. Really, I'd say the bastardry of mankind. And it was the French, basically the inventors of ponce and French collars and French cuffs and everything which is in buggerance, who decided to put that rivulet in the blade. Now, can you imagine what that's for? It's not actually to slide the blade in easier. It's to introduce infection into the wound that you create. So thank you, the French, very much for that.
Well, this, by the way, is a brand spanking new. It was never issued. So brand spanking new from the factory, never issued to the troops. He had a whole collection of stuff. He bought them direct from the military. It was still wrapped in grease and in grease-proof paper. And I thought,
And it would have
what a
been that
find.
very dark and heavy grease too that they
Yep.
use for packing.
Yep.
Whereas we would always have to use these blades when we were asked to affix them. It just meant another weapon that you had in your charge that you had to take care of and make
clean.
sure it was oiled as well,
Yeah.
but lightly oiled. And you'd affix that, from my recollection, to an SLR,
Correct.
a British rifle with a wooden stock, which was prone to rust rather a lot.
Almost daily.
Yeah, and look, I don't have a green thumb, but apparently whenever that rifle was up for inspection, I was always told by the bombardier that I was growing potatoes in the barrel.
That's
so I'm
it.
not sure how I managed that.
In any event, catering call. And like I said, that didn't suit me, so I went into transport. That was okay for a while. I thought, this will be good. I don't have to walk. I don't have to carry a heavy pack on my back.
What were you driving then? Was it the British Land Rovers you were driving?
Oh, well, yes. Well, they're still current. Even today, they got the Land Rovers.
Okay.
And the international 4x4 5-ton trucks, and the same in the 6-wheel drive trucks. And in fact, with the guns, our guns, the 105 pack howitzers, you could put 2 in the back of those because the Australian Army being as it is, they bought these guns without bearings in the wheels. They were greased hubs, which is great for short distances. You couldn't tow them on the highway because they'd burn out.
Well, we don't have the 105 guns in Australia anymore.
No, they were probably sold off either to scrap or to some third world country.
Well, having said that, you know which army does use them now?
No,
New Zealand. Hello, New Zealand. Hello
They
to our
st-
Kiwi friends.
they still use a 105 pack howitzer.
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah, the little babies.
Here's something that's not known to very many. Do you know why it was called a pack howitzer?
No.
Because they learnt this in not only Borneo but Vietnam, that some of the country you just cannot traverse. So the idea is you can break them down into man-pack sizes and they can be carried by the troops, let's say to a hilltop, put it back together again like a Meccano set. Now you've got a field battery up on top of a hill.
Yeah, I wouldn't be advertising that too loudly because from memory, or from the history books in World War II, the Japanese were quite fond of Australians carrying heavy things for them.
Yeah, maybe that's how we got the idea. I don't know.
What else do you have there, Seuss?
But, let's have a look.
Oh,
How good is this?
now can I ask, have you ever seen this shone with a white light? Because I never, ever have. For me, it was always a red light filter that was put on
Red
top.
or green.
Yeah, green.
Right. Red or green or white. And it was basically for traffic management within a gun position. So you can move the trucks from one position to another in the middle of the night without having the truck lights on. So you'd have somebody out the front shining the light like that. But yeah, that was one that we used to use.
You say that was for traffic management, but you swung across, didn't you, from transport finally?
I certainly did. I went into artillery and that's where I found my passion.
Prospered.
I did. I
Yes.
prospered a lot. As I said, I was not a good soldier, but given the time that I joined the army, it was the heyday of the CB radio, where that was the equivalent of a mobile phone. There weren't no mobile phones back then. So every civilian car would have a CB radio, and you'd be talking to each other, you know. And I got right into the CB radios, and I pulled them apart and I put them back together again.
I think you actually met one of your wives on a rendezvous, didn't you, with the CB radio?
I certainly did.
Yes.
I certainly did.
So you see, for me, the most luck I ever had with the radio was calling in a local pizza shop to deliver. He was actually able to dial in a wife. So you've got to start to think big, folks.
Let's just say I knew a little bit about radios, and when I got into signals in the artillery, that was my field, and they gave me radios to play with. They didn't tell me I wasn't allowed to take them apart. I've got to know what's going on if I'm going to know what's going on.
So it was really marrying a couple of passions for you, wasn't it? The passion for radios and your oh-so-deep love for the O-ring.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you'd always have to moisten.
Oh, yeah,
O-ring.
always have to lick it.
Well, and sometimes to grease up the thumb first.
And it grew from there. I was an extremely effective signaller. I could get comms where nobody else could. I was good at my job. They kept promoting me, but I had a passionate dislike for authority, and so I could have been promoted a lot more, but they also had a passionate dislike for my dislike for authority.
Yeah, it's a bit of a failing characteristic, isn't it? It's almost like a critical flaw to be a soldier and to have a dislike for authority.
Well, yeah, but they kept promoting me because I was good at my job. In fact, when I left, I was acting sergeant. I was being put up to be the battery sergeant, pretty much because the last one was about to retire, and I was a senior bombardier, and basically I knew what I was doing and nobody else did, so they were going to promote me, so I was a sergeant whilst doing my course to be a substantive sergeant. But of course I left before that actually happened.
So there's quite a big difference, at least in the Australian and I'd imagine in most of the Commonwealth world, that the general mess, and you could imagine this has been like a mess, which is where you recreate, where you get to hang with your colleagues, is basically from your recruits all the way up to your corporals or bombardiers, you'd be called in the artillery. Next level for that will be the sergeant's mess, where you have your sergeants, your colour sergeants or staff sergeants,
warrant
and
officers.
also the warrant officers, which are the people of the non-commissioned officer rank who you stand to attention to, and you call sir, but you do not salute. And then the separate faction again from that is the officer class. So a little bit of a different world. And when you do join on your first day, you are basically marched straight to where your mess is and told this is where you will spend roughly 1/4 of your military career.
Yes.
And these are your colleagues, and this is who you are, and this is where you belong.
Pretty
What
much
else you
right.
got there to show us?
This
Oh dear.
was permanently attached to my ear and my epaulets.
Yeah, and in fact you'd probably have at least 4 radios and at least 2 attached to your ear at any one stage.
Correct. This was for what we call a 25 set, which was actually a 77 set.
In my parlance, a 77. Yeah.
Yep. The 77. Well, the 77 set was pretty much an identical to the 25 set. Only had a better battery.
And resistors instead.
Yeah.
You had the old transistors.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So this
So we
sort
call
of,
these the Army Navy radio, the AMPRC 77.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct. So anyway, this sort of found its way into my backpack.
Do you know? I'm actually have been actively looking at the complete sets, and you can buy some in entirety. Occasionally, some still operational from South America.
Extraordinary
some
prices, though.
Yeah, and
I wish I could get one.
I couldn't imagine being able to get fresh batteries that would still last for it.
No.
And remember, the runtime of the batteries was really low.
2-3 hours. That was it. Fun times, though. Fun times. This is the gem. This is the piece de resistance. I love this piece. This I picked this up on eBay, right? eBay. So obviously somebody also had it in the collection from somewhere. It is like brand spanking new. It is the maintenance cleaning kit for the SLR. And I couldn't believe it that it is...
No, don't
Don't open it.
Because
Hold them in suspense.
There will be a pull-through with a little metal point that's got a hollow inside. It'll be hollow. There will be probably a little piece of cleaning cloth. There will be a little oil canister. What other delights were there in there? Come on, open up, come and show me. Show me. Oh, yes, the brush as well.
Yeah. But
And the adjuster for the sights, etc.
adjuster for the gas.
That's right, gas regulator.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes,
And it's
for
all
major
there.
stoppages.
Yeah, including the oil canister.
Bottle. Yeah.
And it's all there in pristine condition.
Sure, that's the camera.
That is amazing. And I bought it on eBay. So someone must have had this in their collection and it was time to clean out.
So tell me what sort of memories this is bringing back for you, all of this paraphernalia.
Well, I built my whole man cave around it, let's face it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're reclaiming that feeling of youth? Is that
well,
what it is?
pretty much, yeah. In all honesty, it was the best job I ever had. It wasn't
Certainly
the best
not the
paying
best-
job I ever had.
Exactly, I was going to say that.
The camaraderie,
Sense of purpose.
that too. And in my particular case, because I was very good at my job. So I felt I was up there in the hierarchy of, I was respected because,
Competence.
yeah. And that's the thing in the army, is unless you know people, you get promoted on merit. And I wasn't a particularly nice guy, but I got promoted in any case on merit. I've got to give them that. That was good.
Now, I'm going to fire a few other things past you because we've got the physical relics here of your service. What does the smell of boot polish do for you if you were to smell it at, say, 5 o'clock in the morning?
No, that doesn't do it. No, that doesn't do anything for me. However, gun oil, because don't forget, it wasn't just the SLR that we had to oil, but the big guns. And they had to be, they weren't done with a pull-through, but they had to be done with a big rag with oil through the muzzle. Yeah, it's the gun oil is what brings back all those memories.
Gotcha.
And this still smells of that.
Now, did you do much in the way of running? What were you like at that, the 5K runs? Because for me, it's the smell of boot polish together with the early morning runs before breakfast.
Well,
Because you're short of stature. I mean, a 5K run for you, you'd have to be running a bit quicker than me. You'd have to get those legs really moving.
you would. However, I do have a story. While I was on recruit course, we were at Puckapunyal at S Block. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all or not.
I can't remember S Block, but certainly seen the sights of Puckapunyal.
Directly behind our barracks was a small knoll with a stone memorial with a brass plaque. Because from a distance you see this knoll with a stone
We're not
monument.
talking Tit Hill, are we?
We are talking Tit Hill. That's what it was called, Tit Hill. And that was a punishment hill. So if you've been a bad boy, you'd have to put on your full kit.
Yeah, and that meant your webbing and your rifle, of course.
And your
boots.
backpack.
Water bottles had to be full.
The whole
And
lot.
occasionally you'd score a radio to put in the pack as well.
And you'd have to double time up to the top of the hill, read the brass plaque, double time back down to the BSM, the battery sergeant major, and quote what was written on this brass plaque. And invariably you would quote exactly what was written on the brass plaque.
Or not.
And he would say, "You missed a comma. Do it again." And that could go on for hours. I did that. I did Tit Hill quite a few times. In fact, there were occasions, first thing in the morning, before breakfast, there'd be PT, and everyone would line up, ready for PT. Where's Zeus? Is he in the rack still? No, Sergeant. He's running the hill. What do you mean he's running the hill? I was getting ahead of the game.
My. On purpose? You were
Yes.
Wow. So there you have it.
I was getting fit, and after doing this for a couple of weeks, they never sent me up Tit Hill again. it was no longer a
because you
punishment.
enjoyed it. It was part of your routine.
Yeah.
So, folks, that's the way it was for Seuss. It was never 5-star accommodation, but you did get to sleep under 1,000 stars. And to the Gigant family, thank you very much for the suggestion. We know that you've served and that you are in the US. Really appreciate your viewing. And to everybody else, go back to our library because we've got so many diverse and interesting videos, and we love having you as part of the journey as well.
2 hooks, bombardier. Not a corporal, bombardier. Thanks, guys.
See ya.